Laurie came into Canada Goose live, maybe 1981. The idea was he's going to climb Mount Everest with an expedition, and he was in charge of developing a parka for the team. And I remember when I came home, I told my wife, if somebody going to reach the peak, you know, it's going to be Laurie. And I'm not exaggerating, that's what I told her. I couldn't, for a minute, keep him sitting. He was so full of energy, so full of tenacity, and he was already on the mountain. And he made it. He was the guy who really made it, and it was great. It was an exciting time, especially, you know, when somebody comes in and said, we're going to Mount Everest. You know, it's not like going to Baskin and Robbins. You know, it was amazing. You know, it was great. And so I was very excited, very enthusiastic. And I remember after he left, you know, I had the parka completed the next day.
I was filled with excitement about going to Everest, and it's what consumed me. And that's what I was focused on. And to be a part of getting the gear ready, whatever part it was, I was just super excited to be that way. And I've kind of forgotten how excited I was until David mentioned I didn't even sit down, because it was exciting to me. I loved seeing how we were going to make something. I explained that we were going to be on the mountain for 3 months, and that I'd never been to Everest before, but we might be living in these parkas up high, and I wanted something that was as warm as a sleeping bag, but I was mobile in and could move around in. I didn't get it exactly right, but by then I'd had 12 years of altitude experience. I would know more later as the years would go by. But back then, that's what I explained to David, and I needed something that when you bent forward or you reached for something, that the down didn't collapse on your shoulders and you had a cold spot. And I said, it's so important that you don't lose heat around your throat and around your head. So, God, we came up with this great design for a the hood is like 3 inches thick of down everywhere. And it was amazing, because when you flip this hood up, you were as warm as toast. And we made sure that when it was zippered up and the Velcro done, you were covered right up to the edge of your nose, so that no heat loss happened around your throat. And I told him as well that I need the sleeves long enough that we can reach for things and they don't ride up. And that's right. And he took care of all that. Every one of those aspects we addressed. And after a number of prototypes, I mean, David will have his memories of it as well, we started getting closer to the final product. It wasn't that we were lucky. We had good components and good materials, and you knew what you were doing, and I knew what I wanted. So it turned out to be the parka that was good for our purposes on the mountain in Everest, 82. But then I would continue to work as a mountain guide, take people to high altitude on other high altitude climbs that I would go on. And I had the option of bringing the Everest parka, but I never did because it was too warm. So I tried some European commercial down jackets that I could get. I tried a couple different American ones, and they all fell short, either in the hood, the design, the thickness. And so I started by that time guiding a mountain in South America called Aconcagua, a 23,000 foot mountain, the highest mountain on this side of the planet, one of the 7 summits of the world, 7 highest summits. And in 1987, I guided my first full trip on there after having done it before in 1982. And we froze. We literally froze up there. And I was so dissatisfied with the quality of the parkas. They were either too short or they were too big and the air got billowed out of it, the heat got billowed out. Nothing was contoured, the sleeves were always too short, and the hoods were crap, just crap. I remembered David, and so I contacted him. And I asked him, I told him what I was doing, that I was guiding these trips every year to South America and other trips in the Himalayas. I need a parka that I can recommend to my clients. I need a parka that is available, and there's nothing out there that suits my needs. Could we get together? And he said yes. And then we started talking about what I wanted to have, something that was lighter, something that was contoured to the body, something with a hood as good as that, but more tailored. that allowed me to see and had a wire in the hood, and so we started. That's my side of the story. I'm sure David remembers putting up with a lot of difficult requests by me to get this perfect. What do you remember about that, David?
Well, after the meeting we had, I came back home and I literally looked at the prototypes, all kind of designs that we make, you know, ideas that we create, you know.
Yeah.
Even when we don't know what we want to do, we have all kind of product coming out just. And I picked up this silhouette, this block, and with the notes, which was about 4 pages, you gave me, I started developing the first prototype.
Back in '82, the sleeve was really good. It was warm and it had a Velcro closure on it, but it wasn't that big. And what we found was that when you had a pack on and you're moving and the pack's done up and you got your climbing harness on, it's a big effort to stop and take your parka off. And it's much easier if you can open the cuff and roll up the cuff so that the wrists are exposed. And then the zipper and the hood opens so nice, falls back and exposes your throat and your head. And so by simply exposing those parts of your arms and your throat, you didn't have to remove the parka. And that was one thing we changed. We made the sleeves way more roomy than they were in '82, and that allows us to roll the sleeve up, which we couldn't do in '82. It was too snug fitting.
It's different.
Yeah. Cut much bigger, yeah. So after interaction with some of the key people here at Canada Goose, we decided to start looking at, well, what we could do to improve on the jacket. So when we decided to go into production of the new parka, when we decided to make an improved version of what we developed for Aconcagua in 1987, we wanted to make it better. We changed things like where on the original parka, the draw cord was passed through the outside of the waterproof breathable shell, and that involved more stitching there. We got rid of that on the improved version so that the outside fabric is more seamless on the front and on the back, improves the waterproofness, less seams. But I've been in many conditions where it's right cold and windy and damp and it's raining. And to have a normal down jacket, it would get wet and it would lose its loft and it would be compromised. But not this jacket, because the down is protected. This is a waterproof, breathable fabric on the outside, and it protects the insulative down lining on the inside. It's a great combination that actually does exactly what it's intended to do. So some of the original features are still incorporated in the new parka, and it's lighter and just as warm, if not warmer, than the original version. So when I came back to see David 6 years later, that's when I started, to me, see the real talent there. Because when I came back and said, I need something lighter, more efficient, that's going to be more flexible and something I can use when I'm climbing, and it's got to be different than what we did before. And we did this, and he came up with this design that I seem to be getting some credit for, but really it was David who did all the work. I just told him what I needed. That's when I realized I was really lucky to have him as a friend in my life, because he's an artist. He knows how to work in this environment with these materials. And what he gave me really helped me in my environment. He gave me what I needed to do the work I was doing in an environment that many people find threatening and dangerous. Because when I have my parka, I can deal with anything. I can spend a forced night out in this parka and I can survive. And that's what I needed, gear that I could trust. So it's kind of evolved now to a point where I am really thankful for all that you've done for me and us as an expedition. And I think it's been mutual. He got some kick out of seeing this guy that was super enthusiastic, and I guess I was.
No, you were. No question about it.